So I don't know, we will start with a roll call. We are now convened with the Colerain Township Community Improvement Corporation, September 19th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Since we have action to come on secretary, I'll just have Mr. Miller do the roll call. Do you have a list for roll call? Okay.
Here.
Here? Here?
Here.
Okay.
And then Mr. Moravec has an excused absence today.
Okay, and he will not be with us. All right. You have in your board packet minutes from the last, not in your board packet, it came separately in an email, the minutes from the last CIC. Are there any motions with regard to those minutes?
Those were the August 8th minutes, Matt?
Yeah.
I motion that we approve the August 8th minutes from the CIC meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
None.
All right. Mr. Miller, if you want to call the vote, I guess.
Ms. Ulrich,
Yes.
Mr. Ungert,
Yes.
Mr. Waller,
Yes.
and Mr. McElravy.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
All right, under new business, we have three items to consider. Item A is a motion to appoint Justin Becker as secretary to the CIC. I don't know if Mr. McElravy, if you want to do an intro to that, or Mr. Miller does.
Yes, so our previous secretary has left the employment of the township, and so Mr. Justin Becker has replaced him, and so it was a easy opportunity to fill that space with Mr. Becker. He's eager to participate and be a part of the Community Improvement Corporation, so we're happy to nominate him for that.
Okay, are there any motions at this
Okay.
point?
Well, I'll make a motion to, what's that word? Appoint Justin Becker as secretary of the CIC.
And I second it.
All right, discussion.
The discussion, we talked about it before you got in here. Maybe we'll swear him in right now after we vote.
I didn't know that.
Well, we just talked
Okay.
about.
Can we, yeah, one of us can swear.
Well, David brought the swearing in.
Okay.
It'll only take a minute.
So, I'm sorry, so we voted?
Just to,
We haven't voted yet.
no.
Let's not jump the gun here. So I'll call the vote at this point then?
Okay? Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Ungert?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes?
Mr. McElravy?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
All right, so at this point, I guess is there a motion to swear
Yep.
Mr. Becker in? Does this need to be done by a sitting board member or just?
This does
You're a sitting board member.
Okay, okay,
as executive director.
all right,
And then he'll sign the oath when our legal counsel gets here. Notary.
okay.
All right, if you would, hold your right hand up. Repeat after me. I, Justin Becker,
I, Justin Becker,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I shall support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I shall support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly, and impartially
honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of a member of the Community Improvement Corporation
of a member of the Community Improvement Corporation
for Colerain Township, Ohio,
for Colerain Township, Ohio,
for the term ending December 31st, 2023,
for the term ending December 31st, 2023,
to which I have been appointed,
to which I've been appointed,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you.
All right, welcome, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I guess you will start with minutes as of now? Is that, are we good with that?
Yep.
All right.
That's why we want to swear him in.
No, I kind of figured. All right, we have item B, a motion to accept assignment of contract for purchase of former Sears and authorize the executive director of the CIC to sign all related documents and process payments related to the purchase of the operation of the building.
I motion that we accept assignment of contract for purchase of former Sears and authorize the executive director of the CIC to sign all related documents and process payments related to the purchase and operation of the building.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
None for me.
None.
I do have a couple questions that I tried to get here early and catch, but I think they're relevant, and I just wanted to run through them. When does Halloween Express take over there?
They are in there right now.
Okay, and I guess, I don't know that this is something we could do in open meeting, or how much rent we get from them, is that?
It is in the range of $60,000. That is the total contract. It's a little over that.
It is reflected, I've seen that number, it's like 63, but it's in the documents.
It is.
It's
They were in the due
63,000
diligence-
or
due
so.
diligence documents. And then our portion of that lease will kick in after close.
Okay.
So we'll be splitting that with the current owner.
Not that I don't trust Halloween Express, but I don't trust anyone. I understand that there's some fixtures and other things that are remaining there. At closing, are we going to do like an inventory at some of those things that are there, or a photo inventory or something, so that we know? So some of it, I mean, Halloween Express may get confused and put it on the truck as they leave, and I certainly don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I would imagine that it would be a prudent action that we could ensure that takes place.
And then during this time, the rent money would then go to the CIC. It wouldn't go to the general fund?
It would not. The plan right now is for that to be used to offset any costs that we might incur in the holding of that building that we currently, that we would take ownership of.
Okay, and that has a definite lease, I think I read ended November 6th or something? Is that,
I believe it is first week in November.
okay. Okay, and at that point, do we plan, I guess it's putting the cart before the horse, but at that point, I would want to bring in, we've kind of discussed this a little bit, about turning utilities off and getting a liquidator in there and doing some things that would mitigate our holding costs. But right now, that's not touchable till the first week of November.
Right, and we're pursuing all of our options. We'll have that available as we compile that data.
Okay, all right, those are my questions, which are more related to kind of some side bits of the transaction. Are there any other questions or comments?
Sure. As far as, I'm in favor of keeping the utilities on. I would just ask that before the utilities are changed, that it would come before this board so we could have a discussion about it, and it shouldn't be a unilateral decision. I think once those utilities are turned off in that building, there's no turning back from that, and you start to have airflow problems. It upsets the air balance in the rest of the mall. I'm sure that the engineering was all figured in to have all those buildings there, and just the liability of turning off the fire suppression and turning off the heat is more, the cost to maintain it is a lot, but just the liabilities that would be there by turning those off. So I would at least ask that this board would have an opportunity to discuss it and perhaps even vote on it in the future, rather than have one person make a unilateral decision to.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate, and I think it's appropriate too, that maybe one or two utilities are shut off and one or two aren't. I mean, that you give us kind of an expert background on that. So.
Right, well, I mean, there's other folks too, but it at least should come before this
Right.
board so that the whole board is making that decision. One of the other things, I know I discussed this with you the other day, David, but if we do decide to demolish Sears, there's a lot of parking lot lighting that is wired likely through the Sears building, and then, you know, we'd have to make a decision if we were gonna let the lot go dark at night and what the obligations are to the rest of the mall to provide security there. So when that discussion comes up at a future CIC meeting, that's just something else to think about. And, you know, one of the other things I thought is, what direction are we heading with this? Obviously, I was the no vote when this came before the Board of Trustees. And as you go through the documents, is there rights of refusal for the other tenants where they could say, whoa, you guys can't buy it, we have first shot at buying it, you know? So that's, I haven't been able to get fully through those documents, but I've just got some other questions before we make any decisions. Right now, it sounds like we're gonna keep things as is and let that tenant be in there and wish them luck and see what we can learn about the building over the next couple months.
Right, that is
So-
correct.
Yeah, those are my comments.
Any other comments? We'll call the vote, please. Mr. Becker? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McElravy? Yes.
All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you very much. All right, and we have the final item on the new business agenda is item C, a motion to enter into a holding agreement for Sears with Hamilton County Land Reutilization Corporation in substantially the same form. Are there any motions?
Motion to enter the holding agreement for Sears with Hamilton County Land Reutilization Corporation of substantially the same form in order to get it to the floor.
Okay, I'll second your motion.
All right, any comments or discussion?
Yes, and I asked you about this the other day, David. There's a line in there in 4.1, the third item in there says, the community partner, which is Colerain, the community partner shall establish to HCLRC's reasonable satisfaction that the end use of the property will create jobs and/or otherwise have a positive impact on the surrounding neighborhood. I don't know what their matrix is for deciding that, and it sounds like it would give them a tremendous amount of control over what our local board would want to put in there. And I asked you about that. I don't know if you're able to find out anything. I'd prefer not to have that line in there because I don't know what that means. How much control, what do they consider to be a positive impact? And is that the same thing that we want? Does it mean there could be a bunch of apartments there or high-end residential, or what do they consider to be reasonable?
We have not discussed that specifically with our legal counsel yet as we're finalizing the contract, but we will make sure that that is discussed.
So are we motioning to give you authorization to sign it, or are we motioning to tell you to go ahead and sign it? I would prefer to give you authorization to finish those final negotiations and then sign it, because I don't know what that means when something like that's in there.
The wording is to enter into a holding agreement for Sears with Hamilton County Land Reutilization Corporation in substantially the same form, which to me indicates that there will be some changes in that there would be a final. Well, there wouldn't be there would be a final that looks a little bit different than this, but it gives you the ability to negotiate. That is how I read it. Am I incorrect? Or?
Well, that's a good point, Matt. You're a wise man of many pursuits. What do you think that means? Can you see where that might be interpreted to mean just
Sure,
about anything?
and that's not the first place it's mentioned.
Right.
We have to provide within 30 days somewhere, and I don't have the exact clause in it, within 30 days what our use will be for that. I think that's part of a negotiation, but if it's something that we get nowhere on, my assumption would be that, we can then give notice and take the title. Mr. McElravy, is that how you've had that experience more, I guess, with the port?
Sure. So, thank you, Mr. President. The Hamilton County Land Reutilization Corporation, more commonly known as the Land Bank, is a development partner with communities throughout Hamilton County, and they exist to partner with communities to help the communities achieve their outcomes. It's not as if they view their role as being one to force an end use on a community. I think this language is in the agreement just to ensure that there isn't a situation where there is an end use that is completely unanticipated prior to or when everyone enters into these contracts that ultimately is something that the community itself doesn't want, even though a board of that community may find it of interest. But to your point, this motion is to authorize the executive director to enter into the agreement in substantially the same form as this agreement. So if it's something that's important to the CIC board that we revisit this with the land bank, we certainly can.
And we have a 30-day out if we get, a year and a half into this and we decide we don't like the direction this is going. We can ask for, I thought I read a clause in there that said there's a 30-day out notice on it. Is that correct?
So that the CIC steps into the full ownership management
Yes.
and holding the property? Yes.
Okay. Well, that was my concern, and I did read through it. And so when you go to get this in substantially the same form. I would either prefer that was out or just really make sure that, find out what that means, because they might come in and, you know, the thing we were shown last week that showed the high-end residential, they might come in and say, no, you need to have this and that and the other thing, and we're not going to go with high-end residential or whatever are the choices of the elected board. And so that was my concern. I did read through it, and
We'll get you an answer for that.
so make sure that's addressed before you sign the contract.
I had several clauses that I wanted to visit for just a second. The 222 inspection of properties, again, my concern is that there's a tenant currently in there before we close, and I want to make sure that we have a clean kind of break and inspection of properties. Again, I kind of look with a little bit of a jaundiced eye, somebody that's going to be in there as a tenant for like 30 or 60 days. Not that this tenant is that way, but like I said, it's not that I don't trust them. I don't trust anyone. And what do we mean by stabilization requirements as indicated in a number of clauses, including 2323? It says attached as Exhibit B, and I don't think, I think Exhibit B was a little bit nebulous. Did I see this?
So Exhibit B itemizes those stabilization requirements for building openings, roofs, drainage, structure. So I think those are spelled out clearly in the
Yeah.
sidewalk openings, I think.
So, yes, this is page 13 in your board packet, Mr. President. These are, this is boilerplate language from the land bank. They work with communities that are dealing with properties that are in various states of disrepair. And we are confident that we are going to be able to meet all of these stabilization requirements given the condition of the property as is today. There will be some work that we need to do in order to secure the building and close some of the openings. We'll need to do that in collaboration with the land bank and also, of course, with our fire department. But what needs to happen in order for us to meet this requirement is minimal.
Well, I look at some of these and I'm a little bit concerned, like, you know, under Exhibit B1, yeah, I get that, plywood. But, you know, the roof and flashings are sound, tight, will not admit moisture. Drainage, gutters, and downspouts are watertight, and entire storm drainage system is adequately sized. I mean, that's stuff that I'm not interested in getting into because the goal is to demo this, and I'm not going in there and putting a new roof on something, I guess, is.
And it's nobody's expectation that we would do that. I mean, the land bank is going to be our partner on seeking grant funding in order to be able to potentially demolish the structure. So I think we're all on the same page in terms of where we're trying to go with this.
Okay, and again, a lot of this is because, you know, we haven't really done something like this in the past. You have, that's why I'm asking you. On 3.2, condition of properties, talks about a monthly inspection. I'd like that changed to bi-weekly, if that's at all, can be done.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
On, all right, 3.5, the expense allocation and collection indicates that we'll be, you know, if there's some kind of expense that needs to be incurred, there'll be a bill to us. Is there a cap on what they'll spend before they call us?
Well, Mr. President, again, the expectation here is that this is going to be a collaborative process with a great deal of back and forth. Although they will be holding operating funds that they will use to cover the operating expenses of the building, I would think that anything that would be in line with what you're talking about would be a capital item, and that would be something that they would raise with us in advance of performing any work on our behalf.
So I guess the point I'm getting to is, and I don't know where this falls, but I want tight oversight on all those expenses. And I don't know if that falls to you, if that's going to fall to you, if that falls, if we're going to have one person that's going to, you know, I'm sure you guys have met someone on this, but where the responsibilities lie. I don't want, you know, I don't want somebody coming back later and saying, oh, well, this slipped through. Not that it would, but I want everything airtight with that. So I don't know if that's something you guys can do on an administrative level. Sorry, I just have a couple more. So in 4.1, subpart 2, the community partner communicates a development plan for the new properties consistent with local planning goals and zoning requirements. Clearly, that's zone retail. Is that going to be an issue, or again, does that fall under this collaborative type of behavior that we're going to have with the port? I'm worried about what we think it says and what it says. We think, well, we're going to change zoning if we're going to put in single-family homes, but if they're saying, no, it's zoning retail.
So, again, the approach here is that this is a collaborative endeavor, and I would emphasize in this case that a redevelopment that results in less retail and a mixed-use project is certainly consistent with local planning goals, and that would be the phrase that is most applicable
Okay.
in this case. And to Mr. Unger's point, if we ever get to a point where we are in substantial disagreement with the land bank about how this property is going to be managed, so we can just take the property ourselves as the CIC
Right.
and do it our way.
Absolutely, with the 30-day. Okay, I think that's all I had, and I'm sorry to subject you to that, but details, devil's in the details sometimes. Are there any other comments?
I would just say, I think we've got a good working relationship with the Port Authority and feel like they're going to be in sync with the things that we want to do as well. And so I don't feel like there's going to be any kind of adversarial position that we're going to find ourselves in with this particular whole.
There isn't, we work well until we don't.
That's right.
Is the problem. Everybody has, what's Mike Tyson say, everybody has a plan until the first punch is thrown. And I just want to make sure if the first punch gets thrown, we're ready for worst-case scenarios. So I appreciate.
You make a good point, Matt, because if you look at what's happening with downtown with Commissioner Reese and the plans for the Millennium Hotel, it sounds like that's all kind of blown up in the past couple days. So as long as we have that 30-day out, I'm comfortable with it.
Right, any other comments, questions, concerns? I'll go ahead and call the vote then.
Ms. Orge?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes?
Mr. McElravy?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
All right, that vote passes. We have item number 4. We have not a lot of time, but we have time for citizen address as time allows. And I'm told that Mr. Semple wants to address the CIC. Yes.
Most of you know me, I'm Dick Semple. I've been a resident of Colerain Township for 55 years. And I've seen a lot of change over the years. And I always stress, let's be positive about what could be the outcome here in the township. And I think this is a significant step forward for the community to purchase the Sears property. And there's 2 words, demolish or develop. So you have to decide where you get the best return on your investment. And I know places like Oakley Station was basically where Cincinnati Millicron was. And they built it up into quite a place over there with all kinds of retail restaurants, old movie theaters that's being used for something else. And I thought, why not Colerain? Why not us? Northgate Mall at one time was a destination, not only for our residents, but for people outside of our area. They came to Northgate to shop and take part in what it offered. Unfortunately, as you know, the last 10 years, retailing is gone by the wayside, and Macy's is a testament to that, Dillard's and so forth. So when I listened to you last week in the meeting about looking for suggestions, requests for proposals, I'm not a developer by any means. I'm a sign guy. I was involved in the original Northgate Mall, as a matter of fact, with another sign company as the designer salesman. And I worked with the architects, and we designed all the signage for the property here, including the food court. So I have kind of a vested interest on the future of this area, and I spoken with Dan Unger. I know Dan from a long time. We have a lot in common. But I sat down last week and I thought, well, if we take the development side of this approach, what in it for us? And so what I did, I sat down after taking some nice photographs on a sunny day last week sometime, and I created a concept. And I know it's not a supersized thing, and unfortunately those behind me can't see it. But basically I'll show it to the trustees. You know the basic gist of it. The existing entrance to North Gate.
So could we get you to speak into the,
You want me to hold it while you speak, get in the microphone? I mean, I can hold it if, okay. All right.
I don't have a lot of practice.
Okay.
I think I'm
It's okay.
doing-
We do have a zoning meeting that starts at 6, so.
Okay.
Well, as you can see, the lower right is was the old Sears entrance, and I call it the Colerain Center entrance now. And within that can be a convention center, meeting area. It can also be utilized for the Historical Society to have displays, which they don't have the opportunity to do now. There's also an element maybe of arts and crafts, like weekend workshops for kids. In other words, to try to utilize that portion of the building to that function. And this lower right one, is the old garage and tire center that Sears had at one time. I conceptualized that this could easily be something venue for entertainment, like the Ludlow garage, for example, in Clifton, and it's very popular. A lot of people go there, they always tell me the music is fantastic. That would be a possible use for that portion of the building. And you'll notice graphically, the whole wall has a wall super graphic. It was done by Artway for the Cincinnati Zoo. And when you get up close, you can see Fiona just sitting there. And basically, I grabbed that as some kind of Photoshop into that wall. And that would be an entrance for a venue, and I call it Gun Lot Station, after our historical figure, John Gunner. And he created Colerain, basically. So I would think, why don't we honor him? We could make it any name we want, but I grabbed this one as being appropriate for naming a building. It could be called anything you want to call it. It could be called Colerain Center too, but I think it needed to be appropriate to the function. And if you notice, in the first two panels, I've incorporated the green from our standing steel roof. In our own building here, administration, even in the logo, it's got the green feature. And I incorporated, I'm taking those ceiling panels and have them painted the same color green. So there's a relationship between the Sears facility and us, here in the administration facility. And when you get on the back side of the tire center, I created an old Tesco area outdoors where you have catering in for an event.
so Mr. Semple, I'm not trying to be rude or cut you short, but we're at 5:59.
If you could leave that here, maybe Waycross can get a screenshot of it to use for their taping of the thing. But thank you for coming.
And I'll point out that the one that's responsible for Oakley Station is sitting right over there, one of the big responsible parties, so.
When I called in, I said I was just gonna drop it off, but I thought it was worth it.
We appreciate that, and it's an exciting time, I think. Are there any motions? Thank you so much.
For coming
I will
out.
motion that we adjourn the meeting at 5:59 PM.
I'll second.
Okay,
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
yes.
Mr. McElravy?
Yes.
And Mr. Miller?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned, and again, I apologize for having to cut you short, but we have a meeting following us, so thank you for.